It was the kind of silence that envelops you, that makes your breath seem louder than it really is, that makes the world outside of your own thoughts feel distant, like you're no longer part of it. Marcus stood there, frozen, staring into the vast, dark expanse of the alien throne room. The walls loomed high, taller than any structure on Earth. The floor beneath him was polished obsidian, glowing faintly in shades of violet and blue, as if it were alive, pulsing with an energy he couldn't understand. At the far end of the room, she stood, the alien queen. She was a sight to behold, a towering figure dressed in intricate biomechanical armor, the plating shifting with each movement as if it were alive. Her skin was dark, almost metallic, and her eyes were like liquid pools of silver, reflecting a depth of ancient power. She was every bit as regal and menacing as her reputation. But right now, there was only one thing she cared about. Marcus's hands. Wash them, she demanded, her voice reverberating through the room like a thunderclap. Marcus didn't move. He could feel the weight of her command settling on him, pressing down with an intensity he couldn't explain. He stood, frozen in place, caught between fear and disbelief. The air in the room was thick, like something was about to break. His mind raced. Was this some kind of trick? Were they trying to break him? He had seen things, been through hell. As with the aliens, but nothing had prepared him for this. Wash them, she repeated, her voice colder, more commanding. Her eyes never left his. He slowly raised his hands, his palms facing upward, unsure of what to do. It wasn't that he didn't want to obey. It was more that he didn't know how to obey. He was a soldier, trained for combat, for survival. Washing his hands? In front of a queen? The absurdity of the situation made him want to laugh. But he didn't. He couldn't. The queen took a step forward, her armored feet clanking on the floor, and for the first time since their meeting, her gaze softened, almost as if she were intrigued. "You don't understand, do you, human?" she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "You think this is a game. You think we're playing with you. But you're wrong. The blood you carry is far more important than you realize." Marcus's heart skipped a beat. Blood. His blood. He felt a sudden heat on his palms, and before he could react, his skin began to glow, bright red, almost blindingly so. It wasn't from any injury. It wasn't some kind of trick. It was his blood. It pulsed with energy, radiating from the tips of his fingers like some kind of power that had been dormant for years, hidden deep within him. The glow intensified, the air around him vibrating with energy. The queen recoiled, her expression a mix of surprise and fury. "What is this?" she hissed, taking a step back. Her eyes narrowed as if trying to process what she was seeing. This should not be possible. Marcus's hands were glowing brighter now, the crimson light almost blinding, casting strange, shifting shadows across the room. It was as if his blood was alive, charging the air with an energy that was both terrifying and beautiful. The queen stepped back, her towering form now casting a long shadow as she surveyed him with new eyes. The room felt colder. The temperature in the air dropped as the vibrations grew more intense. She couldn't hide the mixture of disbelief and awe in her expression. Marcus could sense the change in the room, the shift in the balance of power. The power had always been with the aliens, always had been. They ruled the stars, controlled entire systems. Humans were insignificant, ants beneath their feet. But now, in this moment, the queen realized something. Marcus had something she couldn't control, something new, something dangerous. He could feel it now, too, the shift. His blood was not just glowing, it was reacting. His body was humming with it, every molecule in him resonating with an energy he couldn't explain. It was like he was a beacon broadcasting to the very universe itself. It was alien to him, but it felt natural, like it was always meant to be this way. He took a step forward, unable to resist the pull of the energy coursing through his veins. The Queen's eyes widened, her regal composure faltering for a brief moment as she took another step back. Her voice trembled slightly. "What have you done?" she whispered, more to herself than to him. Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Instead, a deep rumble vibrated in the air around him, as if the throne room itself were alive, reacting to the surge of power. He could feel it in his chest, in the pit of his stomach, the raw, unfiltered force of it. His blood was alive. The Queen took another step back, her expression now one of pure fear. She lifted her hand, signaling to her guards. But Marcus didn't wait. He couldn't. What would you do if your blood suddenly became the most powerful thing in the universe? Tell me below. The room buzzed with a strange energy, the vibrations rattling Marcus's bones. His blood, still glowing brightly, seemed to pulse with a rhythm that was not his own. It wasn't just light anymore. It was power. And as he stood there, staring at the alien Queen, he realized something. This wasn't just about survival. This was bigger than anything he could have ever imagined. He was no longer just a human. He was a catalyst. The Queen, once towering and confident, now took a few more steps back, her golden eyes widening with each pulse of his blood. She watched, horrified, as the light from his hands flickered across the walls, illuminating the alien throne room in a way it had never been before. The glow seemed to affect the very fabric of the space around them, bending and warping the shadows. It was like the room itself had no idea how to respond. "You think you're in control?" the Queen finally spoke, her voice tinged with desperation. "You're nothing but a pawn in a game far beyond your understanding." Marcus swallowed hard. His mind raced. He knew the Queen wasn't just angry, she was terrified, and that terrified him more than anything. "Maybe you're right," he said, his voice shaking, but steady enough. "But what if I'm not? What if this is exactly where I'm supposed to be?" The Queen's hand twitched, a signal to her guards, but they didn't move. They couldn't move. The power that Marcus was emanating, the raw energy coursing through his veins, was keeping them in place. They could sense it too. They were as helpless as she was. It was an unspoken truth, hanging in the air like a thick fog. Marcus had become something else. Something new. "Your blood," the Queen whispered, almost as if in reverence. "It's not just blood. It's a weapon, an ancient power we never expected." Marcus's heart raced. A weapon? The words echoed in his mind. For as long as he could remember, humans had been weak in the eyes of the galaxy, disposable. But now, for the first time, the aliens were staring at him like he was the key to something greater, something that could change everything. "The Queen's voice was low but sharp. "You were never meant to be this powerful. You were meant to serve, to die." A bitter laugh escaped Marcus's lips. "Well, guess what? I'm not going anywhere." With that, the air in the room shifted again, and the temperature dropped. The Queen's eyes narrowed, a calculating gleam returning to them. "You don't understand," she said, stepping forward with a new air of confidence. "This power you possess, it isn't yours. It's borrowed, and everything borrowed must be returned." The walls of the room seemed to pulse in rhythm with her words. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He could hear the hum of the energy around him. It was growing stronger, feeding off of his fear, his confusion, his anger. It was like the universe itself was alive inside of him. The Queen wasn't done yet. "You think your blood makes you special, human? You think it's a gift?" She sneered, her eyes glowing faintly. "It's a curse." Marcus stepped back, shaking his head. "A curse? No. This is power. This is mine. I earned it, and I'm not handing it over." The Queen's expression hardened. her voice cold as steel. "Then you will die for it." At that moment, the throne room seemed to shift once again. The ground beneath Marcus's feet began to tremble, and the air crackled with static. The walls surrounding them warped, and strange symbols began to glow along the edges. It was like the entire room had been waiting for something, reacting to Marcus's power. It was ancient, almost as if it had been designed for this very moment. "Do you think your human strength will save you?" The Queen raised her hand, and the air around them grew heavy with dark energy. "We will take what is ours." Marcus felt his body stiffen, the glow from his hands flickering as his own fear began to surface. What was happening? Was she going to attack? Was this it? Would he have to fight her? To fight them all? But just as the energy in the room began to grow overwhelming, something unexpected happened. The glow from Marcus's hands flared, intensifying until it lit up the entire throne room. He could feel it now, a deep, primal energy rising inside him, taking control. It wasn't just his blood anymore. It was something else, something older, something more powerful than any alien force he could imagine. "You have no idea what you've awakened," the Queen said. But now there was a hint of fear in her voice. Marcus looked at her, the anger inside him beginning to boil over. He had been a pawn. He had been powerless, a soldier fighting for survival. But now he wasn't just fighting for his life. He was fighting for something much bigger. He was fighting for the future of humanity. His blood, the glowing red light still pulsing from his palms, seemed to respond to his thoughts. It was as if the universe had finally seen him, had finally given him the strength he needed to push back. "Maybe I don't know," Marcus said, stepping forward, his hands still glowing brighter with every step. "But I'm about to find out." The air in the room vibrated with energy as the Queen's eyes locked onto his. She took a step back, her expression betraying the slightest hint of doubt. The room was shifting, warping, as though the very fabric of reality was bending to his will. Marcus didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going down without a fight. The power of his blood was only just beginning to reveal itself, and he wasn't about to let anyone take it from him. What would you do if you suddenly had the power to change the course of history? "Tell me below." The ground beneath Marcus's feet rumbled once more, the walls of the throne room pulsating with an otherworldly light. It was as if the universe itself was reacting to the power surging within him. The Queen, once so certain of her command, now hesitated, her eyes flicking between Marcus's glowing hands and the strange symbols on the walls. The air was thick, heavy with anticipation. It was a standoff, the Queen against the unknown power that had been unleashed inside Marcus. "You think you can control it?" the Queen asked, her voice low but tinged with disbelief. "This power is not for you, human. You will never understand it." Marcus stood tall, his body humming with the intensity of the energy flowing through him. His palms, still glowing red, felt like they were burning. But it wasn't painful. It was liberating. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like he was out of place. For the first time, he didn't feel small. He was the center of the storm, and for once it felt good to be in control. "Maybe I don't understand it," Marcus said, his voice steady, but the power in it unmistakable. "But I know one thing. I'm not afraid of it anymore." The Queen's face twisted with a mixture of rage and fear. "You should be," she spat. "This will destroy you, all of you." With a sharp motion she extended her hand, and the air around them rippled. The symbols on the walls flared to life, glowing with a deep, menacing blue. Energy crackled, crackling like lightning ready to strike. The Queen's gaze never left Marcus as the room seemed to collapse inward, focusing all of its attention on the battle unfolding before them. Marcus felt the power inside him surge, matching the Queen's growing intensity. It was as if the room itself was watching, waiting for him to make his move. He could feel the weight of it pressing against his chest, urging him to act. The Queen's eyes narrowed, her armor shimmering with a metallic sheen. "Do you think you can defeat me with your blood? With your weakness?" she sneered, her voice growing louder. "You are nothing but a mortal." "Not anymore," Marcus retorted, his hands raised higher, the light from them intensifying, casting sharp shadows across the room. He could feel the energy within him, wrapping around him, seeping into his very bones. It wasn't just his blood. It was something far older, far more dangerous. As the Queen prepared to unleash her attack, Marcus reacted instinctively. A burst of energy shot from his palms, blasting across the room with the force of 1,000 storms. The energy collided with the Queen's power, and for a split second the world seemed to stop. The room shook violently, the very air around them bending and warping as if caught in the force of a battle between two gods. The Queen staggered back, her eyes wide with disbelief. The power Marcus had unleashed had caught her off guard, shattering her focus. She had underestimated him, and now it was too late to take it back. "You fool," she growled, her voice filled with venom. "You have no idea what you've just done." Marcus stepped forward, unfazed by her threat. "No, you have no idea," he said, his voice growing stronger with each word. "You thought you could control us, that humanity was weak, but you were wrong. We're not afraid of you anymore." The Queen's expression flickered, a brief moment of uncertainty crossing her face before she regained her composure. "You think this is over?" she hissed. "You think your blood will save you?" Her hands crackled with energy, and the room around them seemed to pulse with the weight of her power. "You've only awakened the storm, human. You've only triggered the beginning." Marcus could feel it now. The danger. The air had shifted again, and the intensity of the Queen's power was becoming overwhelming. The room seemed to close in on him, the walls narrowing as the Queen's influence stretched out like a suffocating grip. But Marcus wasn't afraid. He had the power now. It was his. He could feel it in his blood, in every part of him. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a fight for humanity's future. A deep, resonant hum filled the room, and Marcus felt the energy inside him grow stronger, responding to his defiance. His blood pulsed brighter than ever, radiating with a power that was no longer his, alone. It was the collective strength of all humans who had ever fought, ever struggled, ever dreamed of a world free from alien domination. This was the culmination of everything humanity had ever fought for. "What would you do?" Marcus whispered, more to himself than to her, "if you were finally the one to decide your own fate?" The Queen's face twisted into an expression of pure rage. She raised her hand, and the throne room erupted in a burst of energy. The walls shuddered, the air grew thick with the hum of power, and the room seemed to distort, spinning around them like a vortex. Marcus held his ground, feeling the heat from his hands intensify. His blood pulsed again, and with it came the realization he had only just begun to tap into his true potential. "Do you think you can stop me?" the Queen sneered, her voice growing shrill. "Do you think your weak human power can match my might?" But Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. He could feel it in his blood, in every part of his being. The universe was shifting, and this was his moment. His time. And he wasn't going to waste it. The power inside him swelled, and with it came a surge of clarity. This wasn't just about defeating the Queen. This was about something far bigger. It was about showing the universe that humanity was not just another species to be controlled, manipulated, or discarded. They were a force to be reckoned with. "What would you do?" Marcus whispered again, his voice unwavering. "If you were finally faced with the power of humanity?" The walls of the throne room cracked, the vibrations increasing as the room began to warp. The queen, her face twisted in rage and disbelief, took a step back. The power of humanity was unstoppable, and Marcus was its embodiment. The air was thick with the raw energy swirling around Marcus, and the vibrations underfoot had become so intense that it felt as though the very foundation of the throne room might collapse. The queen, once proud and untouchable, now stood on the edge of something she couldn't control. Her eyes, wide with disbelief, darted between Marcus and the swirling power emanating from his glowing hands. Her once imposing figure, draped in ancient alien armor, seemed small in comparison to the cosmic force Marcus now commanded. "You don't understand," the queen hissed, her voice trembling, her regal composure completely shattered. "You think your blood makes you stronger, but it's nothing compared to what we possess. You are nothing but an insect, thinking you can challenge a force millennia in the making." Marcus didn't flinch. The power surging inside him only grew stronger, deeper, resonating through every fiber of his being. He could feel the hum of his blood, the pulse of energy that had been dormant for so long. It was like unlocking a door to a secret chamber in his soul, one that had been sealed off by eons of history. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for the truth, for the future of every person who had ever been underestimated, dismissed, or enslaved. The throne room had become a battlefield. Two forces, ancient and unknown, colliding in the most unexpected of places. The queen's hand shot forward, and tendrils of dark energy spiraled toward him, aiming to crush him. But Marcus, feeling the full extent of the power coursing through him, raised his glowing hands. "No," he said, his voice low and commanding, a calm defiance in the chaos. "This is our moment, not yours." The energy around Marcus surged forward, a wave of pure red light, bright and intense. It collided with the queen's dark tendrils, and for a brief, terrifying moment, it seemed like the entire throne room would implode. The sound of energy clashing was deafening, a sonic boom that sent shockwaves throughout the entire structure. The queen's face twisted in agony as her power faltered under the force of Marcus's blood. For the first time, she showed fear. True fear. The ground beneath them cracked, the walls shaking violently as the two opposing forces battled for dominance. The queen's grip on the room began to slip, and Marcus could see the realization in her eyes. She had underestimated humanity. She had underestimated him. "Do you think your blood can stop us?" she spat, her words dripping with venom. "You are nothing. You cannot defeat the might of my empire. We have ruled the galaxy for eons." Marcus took a step forward, his hands still glowing with the power of his blood, now crackling with energy. "You may have ruled for eons," he said, his voice steady, "but every empire falls, even yours." The room was beginning to collapse, the walls buckling under the immense strain of their powers. The queen's eyes narrowed. She gathered what remained of her strength, her energy surging with a final desperate cry. "You cannot win. You will bow to us." But Marcus didn't bow. He didn't flinch. He didn't move an inch. Instead, he raised his hands one final time. And with a fierce, commanding gesture, he released all of the energy that had been building inside him. The blast of power that erupted from his palms was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. The force of it sent shockwaves across the HFY throne room, breaking the queen's hold on the room entirely. The dark energy she had woven around them shattered like glass, splintering into 1,000 pieces. The queen staggered back, her regal armor crackling and warping under the force of Marcus's power. Her expression twisted with disbelief as the very foundation of her throne room began to collapse. The walls crumbled, the ceiling above them groaning as the massive structure began to fall apart. For the first time in what felt like centuries, she realized the truth. She was no longer in control. Marcus stood tall, unyielding, as the debris from the collapsing throne room rained down around him. The light from his blood, still glowing brightly, illuminated the destruction around them. The Queen's power had been broken. It was over. She fell to her knees, her once mighty presence reduced to nothing but a broken queen, defeated by the very humanity she had sought to control. Marcus, his chest heaving with exertion, looked down at her. The power had drained from her, leaving only a shadow of the force she once was. "Humans don't bow," Marcus said, his voice steady but filled with the weight of everything that had led to this moment. "We rise." The destruction around them had stopped. The room, once a symbol of alien power, now lay in ruins, and Marcus stood in its center, unscathed, as the final remnants of the Queen's empire crumbled. The universe had just learned a powerful truth. Humanity was not to be underestimated. As the dust settled, Marcus felt the weight of the moment. The power inside him was still there, still pulsing through his veins. But it was no longer fear or anger that guided him. It was purpose. He was no longer a soldier. He was something else now, something the galaxy had never seen before. "What happens now?" he whispered to himself, staring at the shattered throne room around him. His blood still pulsed with the energy of the universe. And he knew that this was just the beginning. The Queen had fallen. But now, the fight was far from over. Humanity's time had come. Would you do what Marcus did and rise up when everyone expects you to fall? Tell me below.